What is going on, everybody? Here, post game. I know there's a lot of you out there that have plenty to offer for what we just saw, but nevertheless, we are live here for Charlotte Vibe, your credential media source covering the Carolina Panthers. I am Andre Casseday, and let's just be frank, what we just saw today was quite rough, right? But we will get to that here in a moment. And let me just say this too. This is a new setup, right? Typically, you see Chris running the show and having the keys to the operation, but he has entrusted me today with running the show here while he gets set up down in Detroit on the field, getting everything ready on his end of things. He will be joining us here in a moment. So if there's a little hiccups, if there's some bumps along the way, like we saw on the field today, just bear with us as we try to, get through and move along and try to get through some of these things that we are doing here. But while we're at it too, since we are live now, and this is the purpose of doing this, is so that we could go on immediately as soon as we could after the game, so we could go and try to get on as quickly as we can in order to not only get all of you on here, but to also get some of the feedback that all of you are definitely leaving in the comments right now. So with that being said, if you haven't already, give this video a like, leave a comment down in the comments section, and give us a subscription here at the Charlotte Vibe. This is what we do every single game day, pre-game, post-game. We go live for the purpose of, hey, covering this team and also hearing from you. We are your friends in the media, and we want to be able to get your voices out there. So, hey, that's what we do, and that's why we are here for it. So definitely do that. And also, we have in the description as well, I don't believe it's in the description right now, but there's still a giveaway for a Panthers hoodie that is still ongoing. So definitely get yourself involved in that and get some pretty sweet Panthers gear. I mean, we're definitely going to have to up the ante here because of how things have started out this season for the team. We're going to be giving away a jersey here pretty soon. Chris will have more information about that and how you can go and enter and win some Panthers merch. But with that being said, definitely give yourself an opportunity to do so. Let's go ahead and hit up some of these comments here. I see a lot of people already are making their voices heard in the comments section. So let's go ahead and go through a couple of them real quick as we await Chris's arrival here on the show as he's setting up on the field. Let's go ahead and start out with Nah. Let's see what he has to say. I agree it's too early to call a rookie quarterback a bust during his first year, but he's a bad quarterback until he proves otherwise. Right now, the way it looks, we missed out on a generational talent in C.J. Stroud. That is from Nah. And then he also says, on the behalf of the Panthers organization, apologize that you have to cover this poor excuse for a football team the past 6 years. I'm done with Bryce and Frank. They need to prove otherwise. So yeah, it was not a pretty day today. Carolina falling to the Detroit Lions by a score of 42-24. Yeah, it was just not a good day today by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to keep my comments brief because we're going to have some more dialogue on what just took place on the field. We're going to go through some stats and some images of the game, and we'll have our usual Q&A towards the end of the broadcast. But, I do feel like Carolina made some strides, as much as it's kind of laughable to say right now in that regard. I do feel like, offensively speaking, while they did fall behind early, there were some flashes there that we saw from Bryce Young, especially in the fourth quarter. Now you got to always, add context to the situation. And yeah, it was in garbage time, and it was one of those things where obviously they're going to give up some yardage just because the defense is going to play soft, especially when, you know, quite frankly, that was going to happen. So in a situation like that, you know, it's tough to see Bryce struggle. It's tough to see this whole team struggle because, you know, they're putting in the work. You know, they're doing everything they can to try to put out the best product on the field. But the trends continue to be very, very concerning. And, you know, Detroit is a really good football team. And I even said it, you know, during the pregame show today. Like, it was going to be tough for me to see Carolina come out and get a win in Detroit, especially with how they have played, especially with Detroit basically on a mini bye week. I mean, they had 10 games in between the Packer game and today. So they definitely had some time to prepare for what Carolina was going to do today. So, you know, it was definitely a struggle, definitely starting out in the first half. That was probably their worst first half that they played up until this spot in the year. I mean, you look at the first 4 games and they have led in every game until today. So there was definitely a break in that trend. But, you know, it was tough to see, especially because, you know, you knew you were going to be going up against a good team and you thought that there would have been more of a fight coming in just simply because of how things have started out so far. 0-4, backs up against a wall, and seemingly nothing has changed. At some points in the game, it felt like, you know, Detroit was just toying with them. Like they had so much control of the game and so much, you know, sorry about that, but yeah, they had so much control of the game and they were basically just toying with us. Definitely a rough way to go in today's game. And then another comment from Na, I am officially on this stance, and I know this is going to get a lot of people riled up in saying this. Matt Rule was better. Right now, you can make the case, obviously, because there hasn't been a time where Matt Rule was 0-5 in any of his seasons here with Carolina. Yeah, that's kind of just the blunt reality right now. You can definitely make a case, and I hate to say it because, you know, Matt Rule was definitely had his struggles here, and there were some moments where you're like, wow, this is just garbage. But yeah, right now it's just, I don't even have the words to describe what this feeling is like. Like, hey, we're 0-5. We are the only team in the NFL right now, in the NFL right now, without a win. The last time that we were 0-5 was back in 2010. So just picture that for a moment. 2010. That was the last time that this team was 0-5. And that 2010 team didn't have their starting quarterback. This team does. Starting quarterback of the future, I should say. Some people may argue that point, but as of now, this team has their guy for the future, but there's a lot of growing pains right now, and it is definitely, as we come on the air every time, it definitely gets tougher and tougher to try to justify and figure out, like, what is going on with this team, what is going on, and why are things not progressing. It's a mess right now. And here at the Charlotte Vibe, we're going to try and power through some of these early season struggles that we are seeing right now. If you haven't already, again, continue to hit the like button. Leave those comments in the comments section. And we will be having Chris join here in just a little bit. He is still setting up. in Detroit. I'm just getting a text from him, so just give me one moment. But yeah, we are doing a new setup here, so please pardon the little hiccups here. We're still trying to sort some things out and get everything ready to go here. Give me 1 second. But again, keep leaving those comments. And hey, we have that link in the description too to join the show. I'm here. Chris will be here momentarily to hop on. And yeah, so let's go to another comment here. B Stallion, struggles definitely continue. Better overall game management, yet still poor discipline, poor clock management. Not having play calls in on time, and must be more than a throw to Thielen. So I will say this, and pardon me as I try to multitask here. There were some positives to take away from today's game. I'm not going to be the first to tell you that everything was fine and dandy, obviously. But there were some positives to take away from the game, especially in the fourth quarter, where there were moments where you saw some flashes from Bryce Young. You saw some moments where, hey, something's happening here, and there's stuff to take away from it. But I think the frustrating thing that we can all agree with is just the continued trends that we are seeing, right? Like, the offense still feels limited. The play calling still feels like we're being held back by something. So, excuse me. Yeah, it's definitely a concern that we are still seeing, as we have a visitor that is now ready to join us here. Let me go ahead and add him onto the screen. I think he is about as ready as he's going to be.
No, I'm going live with this guy here.
Look who it is, everybody.
How's it going?
Hey, we're hanging in. We're doing some multitasking. We're making it happen. I see you are hydrated and just about ready to go over there. Some Gator Light. You can never go wrong with that.
That's right, some Gator Light, whatever that is.
Hey,
I had somebody bring it to me.
It's got extra electrolytes, so you should be all set and ready to go over there.
Hey, thank you. Well, I don't know where we are. By the way, behind the scenes, what you guys get to see because we're live. I did not get any pictures yet for the post-game show. I don't know if you already sent them, but
they are in the process of being sent over. I just sent the email, so it should be within your reach here in just a short while.
All right.
But yeah, I'm just going through some comments right now as we get ready to go through our normal flow of the show. Some spicy ones already, but I'm going to keep my answers and my remarks rather general until we get to that point in the show.
Okay.
But yeah, that was just a comment from D Stallion, just talking about how things, while there were some issues in today's game, there's some positives that you can take away from what you saw to the offense in the fourth quarter. But definitely a lot of things, Chris, that this team needs to work on. I mean, that was a pretty rough performance from Carolina today.
It was bad, man. You almost could just get swept into being a Detroit Lions fan here today. It was a lot of great energy, a lot of great music out of Detroit, and it was pretty cool. I say pretty cool, just from an entertainment standpoint. You're in Detroit. Who's a famous guy from Detroit? The rapper Eminem, and we all love a few of his tracks. Some good get hype type music that guy has, right? And they play Eminem's "Lose Yourself" music, and the crowd just starts to go crazy. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. You're in Detroit. And then they show him in the stands, and he waves to the crowd, and it just gets even louder. And like, oh, that's kind of cool, And but it wasn't good for the Carolina Panthers. Really tale of two halves. I mean, that was the same thing that we used last week,
Right.
but it was a tale of two halves. Even though, because that second half really, it just evened out. It's 14-14 in that fourth quarter, 0 in the third quarter. So really, the first half score was basically the same in the second half, and it was turnover. I don't know, Andre, if you're at the point where you want me to go ahead and give a little bit more dialogue and start talking about the game today. But yeah, it was definitely a tale of two halves.
It was a tale of two halves. And let me just say this, too, before we get into it real quick. That first half was probably the worst first half that Carolina has played this season, which is a trend that was broken because coming into this game, Chris, we had led in every first half coming into today's game. And then we played today, and wow, it was just a rough one from the very beginning. So it was a trend that was broken. But again, there were still things, even in the second half, where you're like, oh boy, this is kind of just a reminder of what we've already seen up to this point. So definitely some things that need to be improved upon there.
Yeah, again, I got a lot to tell you off camera about the journey of getting onto this field and everything that went on to the day. But part of the journey is this: me and Patrick, our photographer, rode to the game together.
Right.
Now, for those of you who don't know why that's strange, here's why it's strange. Patrick and I both rented cars today with the intention of independently coming to the stadium, but we did not. My rental car will only get about 5 miles today. I'll take it back. But nevertheless, I'm sure Patrick's going to tell me about, he gets an interesting perspective being down on the field taking pictures for us. And I'm sure he's going to tell me about how a lot of these guys and the energy was pretty low down here on the field for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, and he even said that pregame too, and it definitely reflected on the field today. So let's get right into it. I say we go ahead and go over some of the stats for today's game, if that's okay with you, Chris.
That is okay with me, and I hope you guys have subscribed like Andre's asked you to. Hey, we're really trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. I know it's tough. It's not a lot to cheer about. That's why we're giving away merchandise each and every week. That's why we're giving away a Bryce Young jersey also this month. So we're gonna be your therapist. You guys are invited each and every show to come on, vent, have a comment, but let's get through it together.
Absolutely, and that is why we are here for today and days like this. All right, so let's get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and put onto the screen. Let's see if I can figure this out. Boom. Oh, we'll do that again. All right, so here we go. We have our passing stats for today. Bryce Young, 25 of 41, 247 yards, with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And the one thing that surprised me, Chris, he was only sacked one time today.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting to say the least. Let me go ahead and get that off the screen here real quick.
Well, one time in order to avoid a sack, he had an intentional grounding. But I say that Bryce takes a lot of credit for avoiding sacks today because he was under pressure. But today I felt like he was more like, let me run and get out of here. Not run to run, but let me run away as much as I can to get away from having a sack and kind of throw the ball away. So there may be a little bit of coaching there that's helped him out, took place there in that area in particular.
Yeah, and let me go ahead and get it back onto here. There we go. Now we're in better circumstances there. I had you on full screen for a second there, but now we're back to where we need to be.
As you should. I mean, I got a beautiful view. I guess this is the NFL thing now, where after games they always have the little leaguers come on and play, and it's 2 separate little league games going on behind me. Pretty cool.
Right. And just to get back to the big leaguers with what took place today, right? Yeah, I think that was kind of surprising though, because he was pressured practically all day today. And, there were plenty of roughing the passer calls that were called on Detroit just because of how easily accessible their D line was to Bryce Young today. And the fact that they only had one sack was kind of a little bit of a surprise, but Overall, just when you look at his performance, a lot of those numbers came in garbage time in the fourth quarter. Uh, Not to try to slight him or to try to take away from those numbers, but you have to kind of factor that in and add context to that. But yeah, it's one of those things where, hey, he had 3 touchdowns and he was able to air it out a little bit today, but also at the same time, they were down quite a bit. So they had no choice but to air it out. So definitely some interesting numbers in that regard. As
Now,
we
are you saying air it out from having a lot of pass attempts, or air it out and that he was throwing the ball downfield?
air it out in the sense that he had a lot of pass attempts, because there
I'm
weren't
with you.
really, yeah, my eyes do not deceive me, right? There weren't a lot of deep shots in this game either. We'll touch base on that later, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, again, they had no other choice but to open it up because they were down by quite a bit. They were down by like what, almost 3 touchdowns at one point in the game, so they had to be able to make something happen there. All
Yeah,
right.
they did. And one more comment about Bryce and the number of sacks or the lack thereof. And Andre and I are glad that that did not happen more. But this Detroit Lions team, they currently, before the game, they were seventh in the league with sacks with 13. So I will say this deserves a kudos to Bryce for avoiding that sack today and that pressure.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on here to the rushing attack from Carolina today. And there were a lot of Miles Sanders slander, if you will, based off of his performance today. But let's get right into it. Chuba Hubbard, 9 carries for 35 yards, with about a 4-yard average. Miles Sanders, 7 carries for 32 yards and almost 5 yards per carry. Laviska Shenault, hey, that's Chris's guy right there. It's 5 carries for 27 yards. And Andy Dalton and Bryce Young each with a carry in today's game. So let me go ahead and get this back to where we need to be.
It's time to meet on each side of the field. Shake hands. Let's give a big round of applause.
So let me share with you a few takeaways from that rush
There we go.
as you get that together. So on the rushing part, today I'm going to think about this a little bit more. So here's a go ahead and plug in tomorrow's show, because the day after, Andre and I do an hour-long show dedicated towards your questions, right? We dig a little bit deeper into the game. The Carolina Panthers did try some new things today. And I know pregame I said, hey, I just want to see these guys progress. I want to see Bryce Young progress. And I kind of have some mixed feelings at this moment without looking at the tape. I feel like they did do some new things. They did try to progress, but it actually caused more problems today because they didn't go to progress in the areas that I was thinking. So the rushing was a little surprising, because obviously today they were saying, hey, we're going to get Laviska Shenault involved a lot more in this offense. So he had the 5 rushes. And I think he had a few. No, he did not have any receiving. I know that we're going to get into that, but they split it almost equally between Chuba, Laviska, and Miles Sanders. And Miles Sanders, of course, had the fumble, which we'll get into a little bit more here. But actually, I'll go ahead and talk about it. The first half, the big problem was turnovers, interceptions, and fumbles. But I'll come back to it a little bit more.
Yeah, and let me touch base on Laviska, too. I think they finally are making a concerted effort to get him involved in the offense. And I think part of the reason why they need to at this point is because the offense is struggling. They need to try something new. And I think this was something that maybe they planned it out to the effect of, hey, if things weren't working out, that they would have him as like a last resort, as like a, as that backup plan for when things kind of go awry. But again, they have to use Laviska in some capacity, because he is that dynamic piece and that kind of difference maker in the offense. Obviously, you can't say he's a difference maker because there's just been a lack of production, but his skill set and his body type is so unique compared to everybody else on that roster that you have to find ways to get him in the ball. And I do feel like they made a concerted effort to get him involved. I would have liked to have more touches for him in the second half, obviously, but you have to get him involved and you have to make him available because again, he's somebody that when you get him the ball, he's going to be that difference maker and that yards after catch kind of receiver that really there isn't anybody else on the team consistently right now has.
Hey, do you think he runs the hardest of even all the running backs?
You can make
What
a
do you think of
case.
that?
You could definitely make a case, and I even saw it on Twitter today where people were like, "Wow, Laviska a better running back than Miles Sanders and limited carries." I mean, I don't want to go full force on that narrative, but there is definitely a noticeable effort level when it comes to Laviska running the ball to Miles Sanders running the ball. There's definitely a noticeable speed and pace there.
What about Kelsey? Just a noticeable different style. That way, if I'm talking to Miles in the locker room, he won't be like, "Hey, some guy was saying that I suck."
No. Nobody said that you sucked, but there
Somebody said I don't run hard. No, I'm just messing with you.
There are some questions though. There are some legitimate questions about effort level and with the running backs that are in there, how they are having more success than he is, despite playing behind the offensive line. And you're going to have defenders say, well, the offensive line isn't good. There isn't a lot of run lanes. But when you look at Chuba and how he runs, and when you look at Laviska and how he runs, there's a different effect level that they bring to the table that Miles Sanders, for whatever reason, it's just not clicking and it's not jiving right now. So
let me tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that he's going to have to answer to because, again, you got brought in here, you got paid to be a contributing force on this offense, and right now through 5 games, it has not worked out. There has been no return on investment.
So here's my one thing I'll say to explain, not to defend, but explain the visual difference between Miles running and Chuba or Laviska. Miles' style is completely patient. He's waiting for his lanes to go before he goes in. So it's not a lack of effort. It's just his style is a wait, find a lane, and then dash to it and try to go. He's not going out there just running downhill like you'll see Chuba or Laviska, where he's going to drop his shoulder and run over people. So
right, and it's a
there
different play. Yeah, it's a different play style that he possesses. He's a quicker and shiftier runner. He's not known to be that power guy, and yeah, so there's definitely that aspect to it as well. So let's move forward here and talk about the receiving for Carolina. Quite a bit of some diversity there. We'll start with Adam Thielen, 11 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. He's been really doing and holding up his end of the bargain. Jonathan Mingo with a pretty solid performance, 5 catches for 48 yards, coming back after suffering a concussion a couple weeks back. DJ Chark, 3 catches for 42 yards, which to me is a little disappointing, especially coming back here to Detroit and potentially having that revenge game. We didn't really see much there, but he did have a touchdown, so there's that caveat. Ian Thomas, a catch for 28 yards. Hayden Hurst, 3 catches for 21. So, yeah, it's a very interesting spread because really it's just Thielen, Mingo, and Chark that had a good bulk of the catches from the receiver room. So it leads to question, like, where was Terrace Marshall? Where was, it begs the question, where was Laviska Shenault? Where were these other guys that were, and specifically with Terrace Marshall, he was a pretty heavy contributor in last week's game. Of course, with Jonathan Mingo being back in there, he kind of ate away at some of those opportunities. But Chris, I want to hear your viewpoint about the receivers and how top-heavy it kind of seemed, especially with Thielen having 11 catches. And then after that, there was just a pretty noticeable drop-off.
Yeah, so I'm not too upset about Thielen with his top-heavy, as you're saying, with the 11 receptions, 107 yards. But you talked about exactly what I was thinking. I feel like I got to go back and look at the tape because was Terrace Marshall, how many reps did he get? I know he got so few where I don't remember seeing him on the field. I'm not saying he wasn't, but it was definitely every time I looked up and I'm following the play doing what I got to do, I didn't see him out there. So I I don't feel like because of his game last week that he suddenly needs to become the premier guy on this team. But it did say to me, maybe now we're finally going to get a little bit of improvement in his performance and see a little bit more out of him. So I'm just shocked that he was not out there enough where I don't even know if he played today after having second leading in receptions last week for this Carolina Panthers team. And Laviska Shenault, yeah, so we saw him get a lot of rushes today, right? But he's still a wideout, right? Why
Hmm.
did we not go to use him in that capacity at all today? He did not get any targets today. And with Chark coming back to Detroit, his 3 receptions, 42 yards, my thing for Chark is why did we not see any deep balls? Like that's the part where I can't start to get this coaching staff too much of a break anymore. Because last week it seemed to be like eye catching the fans about, hey, they're not even running routes deep. Forget whether or not he chooses to throw to the guy. They're not even running any routes deep. So I don't have that chart available to me immediately today. But in looking at those stats that you put up, okay, Adam Thielen had a long for 30. I know that involves some run after the catch. So maybe that was about a 20-yard pass. That's not deep. And then Ian Thomas had a 28-yard pass. I don't remember that one, but Andre, I don't know if you saw that one or not. But for me, that I really don't think that Ian Thomas caught a ball about 28, 25 yards down the field
I actually,
today.
I actually do remember that. It
Okay.
was it was in the fourth quarter, and it was actually it was about a 20 to 25 yard pass over the middle, where he
Oh,
was.
okay.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty solid reception there. Obviously, there wasn't anything after when he caught the ball because he's not known for run after catch ability, right? Let's just be frank about it. But it was definitely a pretty big gain on his part there. And while I have this image up, we talk about Terrace Marshall, right? Let me go
Why
ahead and
can't I
see.
see the images? I can't see anything from my end.
See, now you know how I feel, Chris.
Oh, I thought you could see it. You can't?
No, that's why whenever you have like the comments, it's always a delay, and I have to base it off of what I see on the YouTube side of things, because
Okay.
you don't see it right away. Either you don't see it right away, or you just don't see it at all. But
Okay.
let me pull up this picture here that Patrick sent me
So
of
this is like a live TV trust exercise that we're doing
right,
here because, normally I have all the controls, I can see everything, and right now all I have is a picture of Andre and just my camera
right.
and my security Patrick walking around me. He's making sure that I feel safe, and I do.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you definitely can't see this, Chris. But I have a picture. This is a black and white picture of Terrace Marshall walking off the field post game. So you can definitely gather the mood there,
Okay.
and you can definitely see, um, for one, in his face, like, geez, that just happened. This is the kind of game that just took place. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely a tough performance for and a guy who really didn't even see the field today. Like you said, Chris, earlier, I don't even remember at any point in this game, as I was looking through Twitter and multitasking and doing my thing there, I don't remember at any point in this game where he was on the field um, at all. So it was definitely an interesting thing to see from that regard as well.
Hey, so if I can play a little remote production director here. So I'm going to
Yes.
go and, man, I'm going to give a few comments on the Chandler Savala updates.
Oh, yes.
And then I don't know if you got all the pictures, and we could go ahead and take a moment and show some of the pictures that our photographer has for us today as well. If you have them, do you have those queued up and ready to go?
They are ready to go.
Uh,
Yep.
All right. So just a few updates on the Chandler Savala thing. So um, Coach Wright did talk about that after the game, and here at the stadium, it was pretty. One of those moments where it's loud. I mean, it's loud here in Ford Field. This is my first time being here. It's loud also in the press box, which is challenging for a guy like me because I need quiet, and it was far
Right.
from quiet in the press box. But when he went down, pretty quiet, and you could see pretty quickly a lot of staff came out. They started quickly bringing out the I don't know what it's called, but the flatboard stretcher kind of deal that they can carry, and
Yep.
then the cart came out pretty quickly. And then you also noticed the team Carolina Panthers very quickly that all the players were off the field. I'm sorry, on the field and
On the
off
field,
of
yep.
off the bench to check him out. He did give a little thumbs up as he was carted off the field, but Coach Reich said that it was just a stinger that Chandler suffered, and it's quite likely that he will fly back with the team. So to me, that says it could be wrapping up some stuff. These guys take a charter flight back, so they do have a little flexibility about when they leave. So I got a feeling if it's something that's close in terms of like getting him back on the plane with the team, that's what they're going to prefer to do with him and bring him back to Charlotte. So that's the latest with Chandler Zavala. It is just believed to be a stinger. And I guess he got him pretty good for stingers, but fortunately wasn't something severe. And again, they expect him to be pretty good chance he'll fly back with the team to Charlotte today.
And that's
So,
the best news that anybody could hear. And I had those pictures up there while you were going through your perspective of what you saw on the field. But yeah, I mean, I was watching it from home, and the air was completely out of the building. It was a pretty significant thing that was taking place, but thankfully, it wasn't anything too significant. It was a neck injury that they were evaluating, and we'll definitely have some more updates when they come available over the next 24 to 48 hours, whenever they do pop through. But definitely some good news that we wanted to hear, because that was a pretty scary situation that took place on the field today.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, and I think we have one more thing of stats that we want to go through, and I have it on the screen now, is our defensive stats for today's game. And this is probably the unit where, for me personally, I was a little disappointed by, just with how things went, especially in the first half. But we'll get to that here in a moment. As you can see, Von Bell had 9 tackles today. Sam Franklin, a guy who has really stepped up his play in the absence of Xavier Woods, with 8 tackles. Frankie Louvu with 7. Derek Brown with 6. Brian Burns with 4. He also had a sack. Alongside C.J. Henderson, Shai Tuttle and Chandler Wooten, respectively, with 4 tackles as well. Troy Hill getting in with some action as well, with 3 tackles on that end of the bargain as well. So let me just touch base on the defense real quick before I turn it over to you, Chris.
Can I have a really quick interjection?
Yeah, go for
I
it,
just
man.
want to, so super quick, I just want to add that finally, pregame we talk about all the stats and hey, this person may be 1 or 2 away from this. Let's give a round of applause. I don't know if you have the sound effects ready for you at the fingertips, but a round of applause for Brian Burns, because with that
Hey.
sack today, he moved up to 5th all time
Ooh, do
with
I have it
the
ready?
sacks,
Do I have it ready?
surpassing Kevin Green. So with that 1 sack today, he is now our 5th all-time leading sacker.
Yeah, I'll do my makeshift one because I can't figure it out right now. But hey, that's what's up. Good for Brian Burns. He only needed 1 today, and he was able to get it. I love that sound effect that I just made there. That was pretty
Yeah, it was.
impressive.
I thought it was good. I said he found the button.
To fill in there, but definitely good on his end. But yeah, let me just touch base about the defense real quick. While that was good for Burns to be
Hey,
able to
go
get,
solo screen on yourself real quick. I'm gonna get me some more Gator Light or whatever it's
yeah,
called.
let's do it. So yeah, I was a little disappointed with how the defense played today, specifically in the first half. I felt like Detroit really kind of just toyed with the Panthers' defense. They controlled basically what took place on the field today. I mean, I don't have the full numbers in terms of time of possession, but from what I remember, at least through the second quarter, Carolina had about a 10-minute advantage on Detroit. And that was probably the most shocking point about it, was Carolina's defense wasn't out there for long, and yet they were continuing to get gashed by the rushing attack from Detroit. I mean, David Montgomery had a pretty good game, and that's been the concern. I mean, even coming into this game, was the Panthers' run defense. I mean, there have been numerous occasions where teams have gashed um, this Panthers run defense. And so it's just one of those things where, their attack today was quick and pretty volatile in that regard. And while they did stiffen it up and tighten it up in the second half, giving up 42 points definitely is not a winning recipe. I heard our photographer off screen saying something about keep pounding. Well, the Panthers got pounded today, pretty much in all facets of their game today. Not a good deal at all.
Yeah, not a good deal. And I don't know, Andre, if you're asking, if, I didn't quite hear what you were saying about the time of possession, but I will say time of possession first half was Panthers 17 minutes, Detroit 13 minutes.
Okay, so it evened out.
And then in the second half, I could give you a quarter breakdown. Did you want a quarter breakdown? Or
Do the first quarter specifically because I felt like the pace of the game, I felt like Carolina had the ball,
oh,
but yet Carolina was down by 2 touchdowns.
oh, so you're right. You're exactly right. And wow, good way to point that out. I didn't notice that while watching the game. I missed you here today, man. I missed you. Well, I could talk to you the whole flight back about the joys of coming to Detroit.
The joys of travel.
Yes, but and stadium logistics, add
Right.
that to it. But Carolina had 11 minutes in that first quarter, and Detroit had the ball for basically 4 minutes in
Yeah,
that first quarter.
so
So a tremendous difference.
that was what I felt like. Again, for them to have the ball for as long as they did, and Detroit basically every chance they had the ball, like their drives were so quick. Like in a matter of a minute, they had a touchdown on the board, and it just shows you how easily Detroit was able to figure out this Panthers defense and had them on their heels for practically the entire game. I mean, and it showed in that first quarter there. And while things evened out, it was pretty much too late because that hole was already so deep to begin with.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and talk about this point that I want to talk about. That was a perfect segue. So thank you, Andre.
Yes, absolutely.
What the heck happened today? Okay, here's what happened. The first possession for the Detroit Lions, they just put it on us. And we didn't have an answer. So they only took 3 plays to go. I don't know how far it was. Maybe it was about 80 yards, but they only took 3 plays. Of those 3 plays, it was a 23-yard pass. It was a 16-yard pass. And then they reached into our bodies, took out our heart, and he ran it 42 yards up the middle and then ended up breaking it a little bit to the side for the score. Took them 3 plays. Then here's what happened. Turnovers just absolutely killed this team, and what made this like the worst first half that you've seen. After every Carolina Panther turnover, whether it was the interception or whether it was the fumble, they immediately scored. So after that first score for the Detroit Lions, I think it took about 2 minutes. Their second score, in which they only had to go about 20 yards, actually took about 3 minutes. It took longer for them to go um, 20 yards than it did for them to go about 70 yards. But here's what happened with the turnovers. They just gave the Lions the ball at extremely good field position, right? So they gave them the ball at, let me see if I can quickly find my notes here. They started at the Carolina 20. So that's the one I just talked about, in which it took them actually longer to score from the 20
Mm-hmm.
than it did from when they went that, I don't know, 70, 80 yards on that first possession. And then the next time they started at the Carolina 38. So not far to go to score. And then they started at the Carolina 31. So I forget, I think they might have had 5 possessions in that first half. But on 3 of them, they started at the Carolina 20, the Carolina 38, and the Carolina 31. And they scored on all of it. And that's when you saw all the points get up on the board. And really, I don't want to say if you take those out, you have a completely different ball game. I don't believe in doing something that dramatic. But you just feel like it could have had a somewhat better of a chance if you take away those 3 turnovers that had them put up so many points. in that first half.
Yeah, and it was definitely, a feeling that we could all kind of cement. It was kind of a letdown performance from our defense today, which kind of surprised me, but also at the same time with how Detroit played today and how they've been playing up to this point, um, running up to this team that's currently winless. It kind of didn't surprise me that they beat us up the way that they did today. I hate to say it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've done this, so I'm not giving you a hard time, Andre. This is your first time sitting behind control tower. Um, Make sure that we give shout outs to all of our members that are logging on. I don't know how many have logged on. I saw a few of those people with the asterisks. And our viewers, give Andre some leeway, some grace today, because he's having to look at all the controls that he has never had to look at during the live show post game. But appreciate all the members that are signing on and leaving comments and super chats. I know it's probably hard to get one from you guys right now with this loss that they took today, but maybe you'll cool down a little bit and you'll say, hey, we're still doing all that we can to bring you guys a lot of good content and update information about this Carolina Panthers team.
Absolutely, and keep those comments coming in. Forgive me for all the little hiccups that we're experiencing right now, but we'll definitely get those smoothed out. I'm still trying to get used to all the controls that we have at my disposal right now, all the power and all the things that are associated with it. But definitely a fun time on here. Uh, you want to go through some of these pictures?
Before you do, let me go ahead and just touch on the second half.
Yeah,
And I
go for
think,
it.
man, it's getting lonely out here. I mean, it's amazing how, when we're here at the stadium all day, you go from seeing the lines long to get in here. And I haven't had a chance. I think I talked about this a little bit on the pregame show. There was a line to get into this stadium that was far bigger than the lines I've seen at Bank of America Stadium in recent time. So it's kind of like a little bit like, dang, why don't we have that going on? But I know why, right? We haven't been winning. They're winning right now in Detroit. But that was cool to see. But it's from our perspective, we get to see the build up beforehand, all the fans being here. I think here they have just like I think 60 something thousand. So it's not big as Bank of America Stadium. You got all this noise, and now I guess we're about maybe an hour after the game, and the Pee Wee game has finished up. Uh, there's just a few people here from. There's one journalist to my left, and it's just like dead quiet. Pretty cool to see. But nevertheless, let's touch on that second half, and then we'll go over some of those photos.
Yeah.
I kind of wondered that did this team finally learn to make a few adjustments, because that second half it was 0-0. right, right. It was kind of like you could imagine. Oh, it would have been a close game. They put up 0 points. We put up 0 points, and then that fourth quarter, they scored 14, and then we scored 14. But I will say this: for our 14 that we scored, it was a different kind of defense that we were playing, and they were kind of like, I don't care. You can kind of keep pace with us because we already got a nice separation from you guys. And Andre referred to it. Well, yeah, it was a little bit of garbage time as we scored those 14 points in the second half. Um, we talked about Bryce a little bit earlier today. Uh, I did like how he bounced back from mistakes. I didn't see any really different Bryce after he made the mistakes. I know one time after the interception, he came back and 3 throws later threw a nice deeper ball. It wasn't deep, but it was a mid-level ball down the field, and that showed some good, staying strong or keep pounding kind of mentality. But overall, it's I'm most upset with the coaching. The players play, but the coaches give them a game plan, and I think at this point, and I'm going to go into the photos because I feel like I'm about to go on a little spill here, and I can't see Andre if he's telling me to hurry up or anything. But at this point, here's the fear, right? You're 0-5. That defense for us all season long has been our saving grace. Our saving grace, and that it masked just how bad things were on offense. Now, some of us still like, oh, it's bad. But you weren't like, oh, my God. And if today's performance was, could it be a part of the defense kind of just like, because they came out and then it was like, oh, crap, here we go. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up with this. 0-5, you kind of wonder how much you're going to get out of this defense as they start like, here we go again. That's it. I'll try to wrap up there. Let's look at some photos.
Let's do it. Let me go ahead and get this one loaded up here. Here we go. So we have Aiden Hutchinson sacking Bryce Young there on that one, and here's the after effects of it, which apparently was the only sack in today's game. While it did not feel like it, with the amount of times that Bryce Young was facing pressure today, that was the one sack that we saw out of the Detroit Lion defensive line. Here's another one here, late, I believe, in the third quarter from their own 1 yard line. So again, it just shows you the kind of situations that Carolina was put in due to the pressure that Detroit put on them today. Let me see if I can get this other one loaded up here of the hits that Bryce Young took right by their own, right by their own end zone there. As you can see, Taylor Moton getting beat, and I think that's Hutchinson there again. It's either him or, it's him and Aloloni there, Alex Anzalone, excuse me, involved in the pressure. Then we have this one here in the fourth quarter. Let me get this one loaded up. A DJ Chark with his touchdown in his return to Detroit. And then we have this last one here of Adam Thielen getting his touchdown there towards the end of the game. So based off of the pictures that you see, it kind of just shows, for one, the challenges that this Panthers offense, there's DJ Chark again, the challenges that this Panthers offense had to endure today with the pressure that they faced. But they were still able to make some headway, again, albeit during during that point in the game where, it's garbage time, everybody's playing soft in their coverage. And again, to everybody out there, continue to leave those comments. We're going to be getting to them here rather shortly. But, there were some flashes today from Bryce Young. There were some struggles. There were some boneheaded decisions that he made today. But people need to realize that this is part of this experiment that this team is going through right now. Obviously, nobody anticipated that this experiment, if you will, was going to start off this poorly. But to those who are advocating for Bryce Young to be benched, do you really want to see that happen? And this may be a conversation for another day, but this was something that I saw a lot on Twitter today. Oh, we need to bench Bryce Young. We need to fire Coach, I was about to say Coach Rule, but Coach Reich. Like, what is that all going to accomplish? You want to bench Bryce Young, but that's only going to just diminish his confidence. That's only going to just make things worse. Yeah, Andy Dalton may be a better quarterback right now, and he played better than Bryce Young did in his one and only start. But what does that accomplish? And before I get too far into a tangent here, because I don't want to leave out time for our folks who are leaving their comments, and we're going to be getting to them here shortly. But I'll just say this, and then we'll move forward. What does that exactly accomplish? Does that get you to a television screen when Andy Dalton's your starting quarterback? Does it give you a reason to say, hey, I can't miss Andy Dalton play today. I have to go to the TV and watch this team play with him under center. Again, what does that accomplish? I mean, it's short-term. It's a short-term answer, but it doesn't address the long-term consequences that you face with a decision like that. So, again, I'll be short in my remark with that, but, again, there are things that you can take away where you're like, okay, we're good, but there's improvements that need to be made.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into those comments. These people have waited long enough. We need to be their therapist. And as you do, I'm going to tell you, I wish I had a camera because our photographer is about 40 yards away from me.
Okay.
He's sitting on the bench himself. And it's like it would be the ultimate fan picture of like this guy that's sitting on the bench, even though he's not a player, just looking dejected. Just like,
Is it one
you're
of those?
all alone.
Is it one of those like Popeyes memes where like the Popeyes worker is like sitting on the bench all dejected? Is it like one of those kind of images right now?
I have to confess, I'm not cool enough to have seen those to say 100%,
Oh
but it
man.
sounds like it's probably pretty close.
I'm gonna have to send you that meme later just so we can so you can get what I'm putting down. But I feel like I'm getting what I'm seeing with Patrick and him being all dejected on his little chair there.
He's on the bench. No, he's on the
Oh, he's
bench.
on the bench. Okay.
He's on the bench.
Showing love to our man Patrick Snyder. But oh, before we get into the comments, we do have a caller. We have Quentin calling in. Let's go ahead and give him some airtime here. Quentin, let's go ahead. Let's get you in here, man. Let me figure this stuff out real quick. And boom, you are on, my friend. How you doing? How you feeling?
Well, I'm doing okay, but I'm not feeling great. We had a real bad day today. But man, I'm disappointed, man. I'm in disbelief. I just don't know how many screen passes we're gonna throw. And Andre, a few seconds ago, man, I kind of disagree, man. I believe like there it's not against the rules to let a rookie, sit on the bench, especially like everything that we gave up for him. There's nothing wrong with bringing them along slow, and only because of the situation and looking at how the team is. Hey, we got to protect our assets, and when Andy was in there, everything was a little bit lively. The playbook opened up a little bit more. And where we're at now, shoot, we got a lot of people hurt, a lot of injuries. Why not get in there and some kind of spark we need it from somewhere. We got heads hung low and everything else. I mean, where's the spark going to come from? So. And then another thing is, hey, I don't mind if Evero will if he takes the reins or something, I mean, for everything that we've invested, I mean, we have some Hall of Fame coaches on the staff. There's not enough coaching going on. It comes down to coaching and executing. I don't see the fire in our guys. We might fire off the ball, but that's it. We aren't finishing out the play. Or I don't see guys like Jordan Gross used to, push people 3 and 4 yards after the play. Ryan Khalil, all those guys. We need to bring back, that kind of nasty. And it all started when we let our first guard go. Down to Jacksonville, Noel. Well, it was Jacksonville, but Noel, if you remember,
Andrew Norwell,
man.
yep.
Yes, yes. But I think our offensive line coaching is falling off. It was it's one of the guys that I thought we kept around because he was doing his thing.
Yeah, James
But I
Campbell.
mean, it's so many right, and there's so many things to point at. And I'm like, man, how are we in the top 10? Against the pass, and then against the run, we're in like hovering around 30. And that's like that's oh man, I can't even wear. I have a brand new jersey. I want to wear it on Monday.
See, now you know how I
Every
feel right now. I'm wearing this Bryce Young shirt, and I'm like, man, was it worthy of my time and investment, my guy?
oh, oh my goodness. But man, hey, also before I get off, hey
Right.
man, I really appreciate what you guys do, man. I know it's not easy and everything, but you guys don't worry about anything, and I can barely hear you a little bit, Andre, on the other side, but you guys keep what you're doing. I'm a big supporter. Keep pounding.
Absolutely, man. And thank you for hopping on. And yeah, I think those
You
are
need to
all
get something? Go ahead.
very, yeah,
Yeah.
those are all very valid points. But yeah, we'll keep moving along here because I want to get into these comments. Again, Quentin, thanks for coming on and spending some time here with us. Appreciate the love. As we go ahead and start
Hold
with
on,
these,
Quint. Is he still on or is he off now?
nah, he's
Quentin.
off. He just hopped off.
Okay, I think he said something about, gosh darn, what he said at the very beginning when he was giving. You remember by chance? Because I had a comment that I was trying to hold.
It was about Bryce Young taking a step back, protecting the
Yeah.
assets,
Okay,
right?
right. So for that, here's to me more importantly than Bryce Young's performance, because to me Bryce isn't doing just god awful, terrible. We're about to ruin his confidence, right? Right? To me, Bryce has just been a normal rookie that's progressing. But what they're not doing is giving him the opportunity to have the freaking regular playbook. So it's more frustrating. Like the biggest difference with Andy was that they had different plays that they're running. So my thing is, why are we not? Yes, you're going to have different results if you gave any quarterback, Matt Corral, if he came back and you let him have the complete playbook, you'd have a game that looked different, right? So why are we not stressing give him the same playbook so he can have the same tools so that you can open up some things? One thing that we talked about earlier was Miles Sanders and his rushing and how it looks so different, right? Well, one thing is, newsflash, Miles Sanders' running style does not work too well when the defense knows that you're going to run the ball right up the middle and you're not passing the ball anywhere. They can still kind of sit right there, be a little slow to react because they know they're still only covering flats when you're throwing the ball. But if you have a chance where you can make them have to be true to their, to their receivers just a little bit more, and then he could be patient and he could find some lanes to go through and run the ball. It has to be a mixture of some threats for a guy like Sanders to. We're going to throw the ball 15 yards down the field, and then yes, if that's the case, then Miles really doesn't have a place. We just need the power guys that can withstand or run over people that know, hey, we're about to come right here. We're about to come right here. I'm sorry, maybe that was long. I don't think it was, but yeah, I want to add to that. That was very loud in my ears, but I
I should have
appreciate you
warned
finding
you.
that button.
But there
It's
was
all
a
right.
reason. There was a reason why I did that. Because our guy Quentin, who was just on, just gave us a super chat of $5, and he just says Charlotte Vibe in the comment there. But again, Quentin, and to everybody out there who has given us a super chat and continue to do so, we appreciate the love because Chris and I, again, we do this for all of you out there. We appreciate the love and we appreciate the support.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, I was able to figure that one out. I didn't see the actual super chat one in the sound effects. We'll definitely do some further investigating later on. Because I was really, really excited to play it, and then I was like, "Man, where is it? Where is it?" But regardless of the fact, let's finally get into these comments, man. Because I've been wanting to see and hear what everybody's been saying out there. Let's go ahead and start out with Vincent. I don't even know how you
How long
pronounce
have
your
we been
last
on
name.
so far?
We are at the hour mark.
Okay,
So I'm thinking we'll do probably what, 10 minutes? What's good with you?
we'll go. We'll go 10 or 15. I don't think I'm close to my flight time. I think my flight is nine-ish.
Okay.
I'll double check.
Just be at the airport 2 hours before your flight. That's the common rule of thumb, right? But in any event, Vincent Galileo, I think that's how you pronounce it. He commented saying, "I don't even watch them, let alone go to a game." I think you saved yourself a trip by not watching today's game. It was definitely an ugly one for sure. One of our members, H. Durrell McNeil, commented saying, "When do you think our first win will come realistically?" It's definitely not going to be next week, if I had to humbly guess, because they play Miami, and Miami is a pretty explosive team. I would have to say after the bye when they play Houston. That would be my guess.
Here's my emphatic reply to that. We have no earthly idea. All I can promise you is that
Right.
you will be shocked when it happens. Whether it's shocked because we beat the Miami Dolphins or whether it's shocked because we beat the Chicago Bears after being 0 and whatever. You will be shocked when it happens, and we'll bring it to you as soon as it happens. But yeah, you can't. There's no way you can predict when they're going to get that first win with so much stuff that's just all over the place with this team, with injuries, with coaches, with play calling, with schemes. I stopped right there because I want to get through more questions.
I think you know this individual right here by the name of Taima Jenkins. Did I say it right?
What's going
Taima?
on? You got it, man. You nailed it.
Okay. Just want to make sure because I don't want to, mispronounce Mrs. Jenkins' name. I gotta do her right. So, this
Okay.
season has not been pretty. I hope the next game will be the turning point. I refuse to believe the Panthers will continue this losing streak.
You know what she said to me post game? This is great. This is
What'd you
great.
say?
What was the final score?
It's 42-24.
She said, "Hey, if you reverse our score, it'll be a tie game.
Oh, I love it.
Not reverse both, but just reverse ours, and it would have been a tie game. We were almost there. Just had
Hey,
dyslexia when you read our
we're
score part."
yeah, we're one step closer, right? One step closer to the ultimate goal. Oh man, that's funny right there.
You can laugh pretty big at that if you want. Hey, well, Andre laughed really hard at that. Let me also give you guys a quick update on the standings for the NFC South.
Oh, I gotta hear
As the
this.
Carolina Panthers remain at the bottom at 0 and I'm just trying to find everything. I know they're 0 and 5, but I'm trying to find everything. All right, Carolina Panthers remain at the bottom at 0 and 5. Everybody else won. Okay, we
Okay.
lost. Everybody else won. So Tampa Bay's 3 and 1, Atlanta's 3 and 2, New Orleans 3 and 2, and we are 0 and 5. Tampa Bay looks like they beat the Saints. They beat the Saints today.
No, the Saints beat the Patriots today. It was a blowout. I don't remember what the final score was.
Let me just double check everything I'm reading. All right, look right, but I'm showing that they. Yeah, I don't know what this is doing, so I'm just gonna try one more thing here to get this right because right now it look like that doesn't jive. Be
Yeah,
patient with me
they.
here, everybody. So the New Orleans Saints kicked New England Patriots' butt today.
Yep.
They won 34-0. And
Oh no, it was the
yeah,
Saints that
I
they
won't try
beat.
to go.
26-9 was the final in that game.
That was today?
That was today. Yeah. Oh wait,
Yeah,
no,
so
no.
there you go.
Oh wow, no, that was last week. Wow, sorry about that. No, Tampa Bay's on a bye.
We're all
That's
over the
why.
place.
Tampa Bay's on the bye
Is that what it is?
because they play Detroit next week. Yeah, so Tampa Bay's on the bye.
There you go. There you go.
The Saints
That
beat
clears it up.
the Patriots by a pretty sizable margin. And yeah,
So that's why they're okay. So nevertheless, I did say the records properly. I just did not have the most recent games properly. No, 3 and 1. So they have only played 4 games with the bye week that Andre just talked about. Tampa Bay's at 3 and 1 at the top of the division. Atlanta Falcons are 3 and 2 with the victory today, and the New Orleans Saints are 3 and 2 with the victory today. The Carolina Panthers are 0 and 5 with the 5-game losing streak. We'll continue to go through some of these comments. We're here for you guys, so let's go through these comments as much as we
pretty
can.
rough sledding right there.
Yeah,
Thomas
yeah.
Frisbee with a comment reminds me of 2001 and 2010. Reich needs to let Brown call plays, plus get some picks or something at this point. I can sense the desperation there in that comment. Yeah, so pretty
Yeah.
rough situation to start out the season.
I kind of would love to be a fly on the wall to see who's holding Bryce back from the full playbook. You know, are they having their big thick think tank meeting and everybody's like, yeah, let's give Bryce a little bit more, and like who's the person pushing back to say no, let's instead give a little bit of redirection, let's give him a few more tools, but I don't like why would you not want Bryce throwing deep yet? I totally don't understand that.
5 games into the
Continue.
season, 5 games into the year. Rodney W. with a comment saying, "What's good, Chris and Andre? A bunch of self-inflicted wounds, SMH. That continues to be the theme for Carolina through these first 5 games. Just shooting themselves in the foot and, like Detroit did today, taking advantage of those turnovers." Quentin with a comment there. One of our members, I am still in disbelief. I think we are all still in disbelief at how we were beat today. This is an interesting one from Longman. I want to hear your thoughts on this, Chris. Wilkes was the choice.
Yeah, I touched on that one earlier. I certainly feel like if Wilkes was still our head coach, that I'd bet the house that we would not be 0 and 5 for sure. And I don't have inside sources for this, but my feeling is that Wilkes just wasn't the guy because it wasn't sexy enough. It wasn't looking like we were going to put all these points on the offensive side and we're just going to be like this ground and pound type of team, which I feel like I don't think that would have been the case. I feel like that guy was just smart at knowing this is the best chance to win with the resources that I have. And had you given him a number one pick and a quarterback, that you'd see something different. But you wouldn't see us 0-5.
And that's the job of a coach, is to empower your players and to empower those players to do what they do well. And so far, we have not seen that with Coach Reich up to this point. Another
I mean,
comment. Oh,
super quick.
yeah, go
Here's
for it.
one thing I know you would see differently, right? Here's Frank Reich at press conference and after game. Well, so and so and so and so, and it just wasn't good enough, right? Here's Steve Wilkes after game. Talk to the guys, and basically that's BS. We're not going to play like that anymore. My team is going to, and he's not yelling, but he's also his guys under the bus. But he's just like, it's just, anyway, continue. I didn't mean to make you cry there. It looked like you were crying.
No. I missed the bluntness from Steve Wilkes. I think that's what I would say in regards to that. Rodney W. Nah, Matt Rule wasn't better. He was responding to a comment that was in the comments section from earlier. Steve Wilkes was better. I think we can all agree with that. Mr. McNeil with another comment saying Wilkes and Stroud. What a combination that could have been, maybe. But hey, that's revisionist history, right? Hindsight's always 20/20. And then another comment from him. No way the coordinators and coaches signed up for this. Tepper must have grossly overpaid.
Tepper was here today.
He was here.
Dressed like he was ready to kick some butt. Tepper was dressed in all black.
Wow.
But it's kind of, but in his Tepper way, he was in all black, but it was very casual attire. It wasn't like a suit and hat and looked like he was about to just beat you down. It was like jeans, t-shirt, shoes. Hey, you gotta love billionaires, man. They walk around like not caring because they know they could rule the world. So he just looked like a regular old guy here. He's the richest man in this city today.
Hey, he was trying to be low key because he knows people are out for him right now with how things have gone.
He signed some autograph. He interacted with some fans when I saw him. So
he probably paid for them to be there, but nevertheless.
Oh, Andre with the zinger.
I'm not going to go there yet. But anyway, Quentin with a comment saying, "Big money grab. Ain't none of the coaching he paid for happen." Oh man, that was quite funny. Fit needs to step it up or lose his job. Should be on the line. His seat is definitely getting warmer and warmer as the weeks go by.
What can Fitterer do right now?
Hey, he even said it himself.
What can he do?
He's got to be. He wants to be in on every deal. So, Chris, go ahead.
What deal can he make right now?
I mean, with the lack of assets that you have, lack of draft picks, and what do you expect the guy to do? And when they talked about, we weren't really interested in getting a receiver, those rumors that were dropped this morning, that's probably what happened. They probably wanted to overpay to get a receiver, and then the other side was like, yeah, we're not doing this. So I mean, it's hard to really try to justify what his options are at this point in the year.
Fitterer cannot do anything right now. David Tepper cannot do anything right now. Where it starts is the coaching staff needs to do some things. That's the only place you're going to get. That's where it needs to start, is the coaching staff. Yeah, the players can play better or differently, but it's still going to come from the direction of the coaches.
What he said.
Yeah.
I can't say it any better, so I'll just let it be in that regard. All right, as we move forward here, Ty with a comment. By far, terrible. Bryce did look good, minus the picks. And then he also had another comment as well that kind of ties into that as well. Honestly, it's a lack of talent. Scott may be getting fired soon.
Hit the like button. Make me feel good for standing out here.
Yeah, I
Please.
mean, look, Scott Fitterer is getting a lot of slander right now, whether deserved or not. I think it's a little deserved at this point when you're 0-5 and you're the only team in the NFL that has not won a football game. Um, but again, what can he do at this point in the year? I mean, you're already 5 games in. You can't really do moves. You could do moves right now, but it's going to be out of a sign of desperation, which is not really something that you want to do, especially when you're in the negotiating table. You want to have leverage. The Panthers don't have leverage right now. Nevertheless, Football Psycho says Frank is Matt Rule 2.0. Straight trash. So why Steve Wilkes leave again? Oh, yeah, just because, kind of just all over the place there with that comment. But
Hey, just a heads up, I'm pretty sure I don't have much battery life left. You are welcome to continue to stay on and comfort the people because that's what we do. But
oh,
I'm pretty sure my battery life is about to.
I've already switched over to my second camera because it already died on the Canon here. So we'll try to wrap it up in the next short while. But yeah, keep on leaving those comments. There's a crap ton, or a ton. Excuse the language, a ton in there. All right, FTC, please don't find me. Please, Chris, don't find me. I'm here just doing my job. But let me at least get to a couple more people that I know have been on here for a little bit. Leonard Kowalski, somebody that we haven't seen. Do we know if Thomas Brown took over the play calling after halftime? Any insight on that?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but that's something you're gonna have to wait for. But I will have to wrap up here, and you're welcome to stay on and wrap up. But I know my batteries are about to die, and I
Okay.
got to get ready for that transport. But hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to watching the show. Please continue to support us. We know it's hard. I'm going to keep saying this because it's true. It's hard. It's a tough season. Don't know what's ahead, but we will continue to try to make it as entertaining for you as possible. We'll continue to bring you information from inside that locker room as soon as we get to hear about it, and also whatever inside information that we can give to you all, as well as we'll make it as fun as possible by giving away merchandise each and every week. So look forward to doing that. There's a link in the description to register for that. I also appreciate all of our members, people that continue to support the channel. So I'm going to sign off. I'll give you a nice little view. I don't know if you put me in the solo view, but
Oh,
here
I
you
got
are.
you. Yep.
You got me in the solo view. So there's the
You
field.
got it.
I'm gonna play a little catch with Patrick before we get out of here, to have a laugh before we get out of here. But anyway,
Oh,
thanks for watching, Andre. I will be talking to you shortly.
absolutely, man. That is the man of the people, Chris Jenkins. So we're going to go ahead and do a couple more comments, and then I will hop off myself. Again, to everybody out there, thank you for all these comments that we are trying to get through here. Let me get through a couple more. Leonard Kowalski with another comment saying, no, Bryce needs to play the entire year no matter the record. I do agree. I think, you know, you draft Bryce Young #1 for a reason. And it's for him to be out there and to play. I don't think, and there are people who are going to disagree, and that's fair to say because there are different viewpoints on this. But I don't think you learn by sitting on a bench and learning behind a clipboard. You learn by being out there, by facing adversity, by doing things in the sense of actually being out there and learning when you are thrown into the fire. And obviously, that fire is an inferno right now because things have been obviously it just has not worked out well up to this point. But I think we need to have him in there for now, and he needs to be in there because there are a lot of growing opportunities out there for the taking. Let me go ahead and go through this one here from Quentin, and then I think we'll call it a night. Another one of our members, Scott Fitt is a sleeper cell, destroying us with bad decisions from his summer home in South Beach, a.k.a. Tampa Bay. Is that verifiable information? Does he actually have a home in South Beach? Well, Miami is South Beach, or Tampa Bay, whatever it may be. But, yeah, his seat is definitely getting warm. It's tough because you're not really in a position right now to make moves. Um, and the moves that you can make are going to involve players that you may not want to trade right now. But if things go down this road, then you would exercise those options. Um, Obviously, he's not in a good situation right now because all this talk about us being competitive this season, that's already out the door because of how this season has started. We have a matchup next week against Miami, which on paper does not look like a good situation for us, just due to how explosive they are offensively. So it'll be interesting to see how things progress throughout the week. In any event, the Charlotte Vibe will have you covered. We will have our Monday day after show tomorrow to give all of you out there more of an opportunity to vent your frustrations, to voice your concerns, to call in, you name it. We will be there tomorrow evening. Chris and I will have you covered. For everybody who has tuned in today, who has left a comment, who has liked this video, who has subscribed, called in, you name it, this is for you. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in and for your patience today as we're trying something new. I'm running this whole operation right now while Chris is in Detroit, and we wanted to get on as soon as we can so we could get all of you to tune in and be here and to tune into what we have to say. So, with that being said, I'm going to sign off here. That will be it for us tonight. Be on the lookout for more of our content tomorrow for our day after show. We will be on probably at around 7. That would be my guess. But for everybody here, for the Charlotte Vibe, for Chris Jenkins and our photographer Patrick Snyder, I am Andre Casseday. The Panthers are 0-5. That is the reality of the situation. But for everybody out there who tuned in, thanks for making us a part of your evening. Have a good one. We will see you soon.